That means you could put all that time and all that energy on building the movement. And you just didn't have time or didn't, okay. That's rare. That's rare. People used to watch me so much, they watched me more than the police was watching me, because they said, I know ain't no nigga gonna do all that time. You know what I mean? Not knock nobody over. And then the police is sending, if I'm in a car talking to another African American, just say, who's a snitch, of course, and we talking about black women, and you say, just so, man, I like them girls with the more hair on their legs, the better. Because white folks don't like women with hair on. I don't know what's wrong with them, but they have them cutting all the hair off their legs. I think the Negro in those days was different. As soon as I said that, I come to the Masjid the next day, and a girl opened the door with long black hair and the hairiest legs. Well, I knew it was a setup. That's why, because I just said it. It was just too obvious, but it was a good setup. I mean, I didn't go for it, but the Negro would. The Negro, and I don't want to talk about the Negro like a shoe or something like that, but they didn't give us a chance. And I'm not saying it's unfair, because they got their system and they got their stuff that they doing, and they not here to give you no liberation and freedom. They here to keep power and to have you picking their cotton or whatever you want to do, but you ain't gonna, you know what I mean? Okay. We didn't have an opportunity to evolve. And that was on everything. The people in Algeria, they was living a Negro life in Algeria. And the people, they still had their Muslim customs. They were, you go in any business around noontime, the guy got his little prayer mat there, and he, you'd see him all the time. In Algeria in those days, they wasn't flooding the masjid because the government was not anti-Islam, but it was FLN, a nationalist, Arab-centered government type, which means they were anti-Islam. They used the Muslims, Mujahids and all that, when they was fighting France. Yeah, they used the Muslims. In fact, their paper was called Mujahid, in Algeria. But as soon as they won their independence, they retired all the Muslim generals. They retired them right away. And the only people they had with military power was the nationalist Arabs. Anyway, dear believers, to get through all of this stuff, time is a blessing. Because there's so many things going on, you don't have time to acquire the knowledge of it, and you don't have time to develop the discipline, or even to care about discipline. You know what I mean? Okay, now that's where we're different. We have an ideology. We have all of those things that go along with a high standard of morals. The government just started believing that a Negro can actually do that stuff. J. Edgar Hoover said it would be hard for the American Negro to practice true Islam as it would be to put pants on an elephant. That's what J. Edgar felt about. And, not saying he was right, but in those days he was right. He was right. And if you put too much pressure on a good Muslim, make him all these offers, you know what I mean, and all these beautiful things, you can just about break down the morality of a good 80% of them. Well, that's what people think. I don't know. But that's what the movement, even here in the U.S., I don't mean to ramble, but it would be, if they wanted to start a problem for any masjid, they just send in 4 or 5 cutie pies. And the Imam would get all the high yellow ones, and he might leave 1 or 2. If it's 3 or 4, he might just have 4. The Negroes here. In those days, they'd stay in the masjid doing martial arts and all that, and had 2, 3, 4 wives on welfare. Remember, in those days, they did welfare to keep you quiet. So the Negroes, I'm talking about some of the old guys you've seen, the masjid was a place for hanging out, martial arts, and stuff like that. And you could have technically 4 wives. So, and everybody was trying to get me married with one of the imams. Y'all seen him over there. He's up there in Brooklyn talking about. He'd be sitting here. We'd be at a class in Indiana somewhere. And he just said, yes, I have 4 wives. And then he'd go on about his business. And he might, yes, I have 4 wives. Them girls was running that boy crazy. 4 Negro ladies. Well, one was a Puerto Rican. You could tell by the kids, you know. Hey. And I was looking, I was unmarried. I said, shoot, boy. And the poor people in Oakland was always trying to, and I was looking at their lives, and they was going crazy. And they would stay, we'd have family night, and I said, well, it's about that time. And they would be staying there because they thought I was there lonely. So I just hit the lights and said, y'all gotta go. Lonely. And they going back arguing with their wives and all that stuff. And I said, shoot, you see that pallet over there? That's where I sleep. And you know how long it takes me to go to sleep? Sometimes it takes a long time. A minute? Sometimes it takes me a minute and a half to go to sleep. And they up all night worrying about everything. Anyway, let me try to arrange this where we will get some of the benefits out of what we've been doing. About the story that we're going to tell, we have to tell it before it's too late, because like a lot of the people around are getting a little older and it's not but a few of them left. So we're going to be bringing out this stuff.
It seems like nobody is eager to tell it.
Not only that, they telling the story that, okay, everybody likes the movie Judas Goat and the Messiah, whatever it is. But everybody knows that. That's just old. Remember we said they're always trying to take us backwards? They're trying to take everybody back there. But now, remember now, we are not only ahead of them, we're ahead of the people too. All the stuff we were writing about years ago, strategic management under conditions of repression, all that stuff now is technically old. It's good, it's usable. But where we are now, we're into the, what do we call it, the psychozoic age. We're in a whole, you don't have no direction on what to do during this period hardly, except the Quran and the Sunnah and history and all that. We have that, but I'm talking about the specific things to do. We got to hook that up ourselves. That's what we're doing right now. We have to do it. But just like the old-time revolutionaries, they had time to prepare. We have too. In fact, we've been in charge of our own evolution. Yeah, we speed ourselves up, slow us down. We've been doing what we feel is good for us at that time, according to where we want to go. Okay. Tell our story. Look at the story they tell. Well, you figure that out. Okay. I'm going to pass up on some of those lawyers that we had during those days. We will stick with this thing for sure. 95% of ability is stickability. 95% of ability is ability to hold on. That's just the way it is. To be able to last. We're not living a life to where we just want to live a long time. Longevity is not what we're working on, but longevity is necessary for a movement to acquire the history and the knowledge of how to infuse revolution into the people. Okay. Some of the things that we have done and what we're doing around here. We consider Oakland here and all of this stuff, the physical material is base areas. We don't let the system get us froze on holding on to a base area. Like if you're a revolutionary organization, you got base area number 1, base area number 2, right? If it's too much heat on base area number 1, you abandon it. If it's too much heat on the movement, you consolidate what you have and you ease into, you not demobilize, but you put yourself in a condition where you're under less exposure. And you cruise. Remember, the revolution is not over until everybody's dead. That's the way it is. These are the rules. A lot of people, maybe they're not there yet, but we're there. We're not there. Luckily, we're there happily. And guess what? We've been here a long, long time. A long time. Longevity has its place, as Dr. King said. So if it becomes necessary, why don't we have to? Oakland is our base area number 1. That's where we started everything. So they thought we'll attack Oakland, we'll do this. They've sold one of our properties worth at least $1 million or something. We'll get it back when we get ready. If they don't give it back without too much of tussle, we'll get it in writing about it. Because we already had the paperwork. Mukhtar's name on that he sold the property. He don't have no right to sell the property. He did all that stuff. That's what the police wanted us to do. To spend all of our last few years, that's what they wanted us to do. To spend our time focused on them. Or focused on the property. We ain't doing nothing like that. You could see, technically, if you go and look, you would see that this place is technically falling down. I mean, it hasn't failed yet. And we could cruise like this for another 20 years like this if we wanted. But you go here, you go there, they think, rent, well, they got to get this rent and they got to get that rent. No, we don't have to get that rent. We don't have to get. They don't control nothing. They don't run nothing. We do what we want to do when we want. These are base areas. Oakland, we could abandon that till we get ready to get it. Suppose we just get there and we're going to fight for Oakland. What about the rest of the world? Right? They get your attention focused on them. They got all these people, all of that wealth, all of that everything, and they're going to make you use up your little resources on them. Insanity. Pure insanity. That's why we go to Oakland when we want to. And before we go to Oakland, we got to pay all kind of stuff out there. But we'll pay it when we get ready. And we'll get it all back when we get ready. And if we don't get it back, we're going to charge them for it. We're going to charge them for it. Yeah, we're going to charge them for it. That's all. Because we have learned certain lessons that are so valuable, it's unbelievable. And not only that, we're comfortable with it. Comfortable. I'm sorry. You can do what you